Now you never know what's going to happen here when the dew is in town or thereabouts around. Well, I started a Hermits Association. Yeah, I posted it up on the billboard in town, in my neighborhood. It was really nice. No one showed up. I think I'm on to something. A wise hermit, the traveler made a long and arduous journey to find this hermit, who was reputed to be as wise as all hermits could be. And after searching the wilderness for many months, he found an old man in a hideaway. And the man said, "Tell me about life." And the hermit told the traveler, "Well, life's a lot like fishing." And the traveler thought on this for a while, then said to the hermit, "How is life like fishing?" And the hermit sat silently, pondering the question. Minutes turned into hours. The sun moved across the sky and sank towards the horizon. And finally the hermit said, "Okay, maybe life isn't like fishing." Yeah, this one's a little bit more about me than anyone else, and living in a shack with a half moon on the door out back. I don't work, don't pay no taxes, ain't got no bills. Lays around the rear dooryard most of the time, all night and day, playing with the dust on the floor, doing nothing but whatever I desire. And people say I ain't no use, I'm a no count, good for nothing, and you can spot me a mile away just by my smell. I stroll around in my birthday suit with a big dog by my side who's always posting messages on fire plugs. That's the story of the Hairman. Well, now I'm going to tell you another about a hermit there. A young hermit wanted an audience with God. So he gave up all his worldly possessions and left society and prayed in the woods, and he prayed every day. Then after many years, God appeared to him, and God said, "I'm pleased by your dedication. You may ask for any one thing, and I'll grant your wish." And the hermit said, "Okay. But what took you so long? I've been praying for a very long time now." And God replied, "Time in heaven works differently than time on earth. It may have been a couple decades for you, but for me it was just a single second." And the hermit said, "Okay, then I wish for a kingdom, a very beautiful wife, lots of wealth, fancy cars and airplanes and such." And God looked thoughtfully for a moment and then said, "Oh darn, I forgot my wish-granting wand. Be back in a minute." Yeah, there's a shack with a half moon on the door out back where a man lives without a care in the world or lack. And he don't work, he don't pay, no bills, no taxes, nothing in the mailbox for him. Just lays around all day fulfilling his thrills, and people say that he's a no count, no good for nothing, but he's content, and that's all that's worth something for him. He's living a life on his own terms in a shack with a half moon where he never squirms, doing nothing but what he desires, and that's all that matters by his little fire. You can spot him a mile away by his stench, but he don't care. He's happy living in his shell, strolling around in his birthday suit with the big dog, posting messages on fire plugs. They say he's crazy, but he's just living free in his shack with the half moon where he's meant to be. He lives on his own terms in a shack with a half moon where he never squirms, doing nothing but what he desires. And that's all that matters in his little world, sitting there in the reflection of his cave, in in the flames of the fire. Some may judge, but he don't mind. In his little world, he's just fine. Living in a shack with a half moon on the door. Yeah, he don't mind. He's just fine. He found his own kind of peace. He's living life on his own terms. In a shack with a half moon where he never squirms. Doing nothing but what he desires. And that's all that matters. He sits by the fire. So when you see that shack with the half moon on the door, just remember it's a little piece of paradise and nothing more. Where a man can live as he pleases in a shack with a half moon. Where he finds his peace. Yeah, where he finds his peace. Released from the world. So don't judge the man by his humble home, for he's living his truth in his own tune. In his shack with a half moon, he's free as can be, living a life on his own terms. That's how it's meant to be. Now I'll tell you a story about a long time ago. There was a hermit priest who accepted guests for only one day every 10 years. And the hermit was the holiest man. Yes, the holiest of all holy. And it was a great honor to visit his home. So the town would select the best citizen to go. And the citizen could also bring a guest. And the good citizen who was selected knew the town drunk, and he wanted to save the man's soul, or at least teach him a little humility. So he chose the drunk to go with him. And as they walked through the forest to the hermitage, the good citizen warned the drunk. This hermit's a holy man above all other living creatures, so please do not do anything that would offend him, or he will send us away. I'm doing this for you to learn humility and to save your soul. And I hope that you are convinced of my sincerity. And the drunk said, I'll be as polite as I can manage. And they arrived at the hermitage and walked inside, and the hermit, who was a very large, stately man, sat waiting. And he motioned him forward, and the good citizen fell to his knees while the drunk stood. And the good citizen said, "Oh, wise hermit, I'm the best citizen in town. I have worked tirelessly for my fellow man. I have come to save this man, this drunkard's soul, and I'm hoping that he leaves with a little humility." And of course, the hermit noticed the drunk didn't say anything, so he slapped him on the leg. And the drunk said, "Oh, wise hermit, I have only one thing to tell you." And at this point, the drunk told a joke that was brawny and raunchy and low-down dirty. The dirtiest, low-down, brawny joke in history. And the good citizen sat aghast, and the hermit was stone-faced like a monument, but motioned them to step forward. And the good citizen stood to step forward, and the hermit shook his head and waved him off and pointed to the drunkard. And the drunkard, being very surprised, stepped forward curiously, and the hermit leaned closely and whispered into the man's ear, "All right, stop me if you've heard this one." Now, back to whatever it was we were doing, no doubt. Let's get on with the show.